Good day, grade 11s. My name is Carden Madzokere. I'm the author and publisher of the Distinction Bound Student Textbooks, and welcome to a continuation on a lesson on utility and elasticity. Now, I'll start with a recap on the previous lesson. So the previous lesson, we introduced utility, we defined it. Then we spoke about the law of diminishing marginal utility. So obviously we touched on marginal utility. Then we said the relationship between utility and total utility to say what happens when marginal utility declines or reaches zero or becomes negative. Right, then we went on to talk about consumer problem and consumer equilibrium. And then we just touched on the law of demand, since this was now bringing us to price elasticity of demand. So we looked at price elasticity of demand and said, so it means that a product can either be elastic or inelastic. Then we looked at degrees of elasticity, which vary from perfectly elastic to perfectly inelastic. We talked about the formula for calculating elasticity, which is percentage change in quantity demanded. Remember, we added that demanded here. I haven't repopulated the PDF, so it's fine. Divided by percentage change in price. So, whatever figure we get from calculating this tells us whether a good is elastic or inelastic. So basically here it's explaining all that, and it's simpler to understand it by looking here. So we said when price elasticity of demand is equal to infinite, then it will be said to be perfectly elastic. When price elasticity of demand is equal to zero, then the demand curve is said to be perfectly inelastic. When price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, something like 2, 3, 4, then it is said to be relatively elastic. When price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, like that, it's said to be inelastic. Then when price elasticity of demand is equal to 1, meaning the change in price is the same as the change in quantity demanded, it's said to be unitary elastic. So that brought us to the end of price elasticity of demand. We then moved on to price elasticity of supply, which is more or less the same concept, but now for the supply curve. So the same thing I said there, it applies this side. Oh my God, I zoomed this. I have to change it back. Okay, I hope I didn't make it too small. Right, same applies here. Then, so supply will do the same. Then these are factors that will determine elasticity of demand. We spoke about them. So now we want to introduce a new concept, which is income elasticity of demand. Okay, so it is a measure. It measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded for a product or service to a change in the income of a person, ceteris paribus, meaning all other things constant. Because if all other things are not constant, it would not tell us whether the good is inferior or normal. Because with income elasticity of demand, we are trying to see if a good is normal or inferior. So we have a formula. So the formula is percentage change in quantity demanded of the product divided by percentage change in the consumer's income. So there are certain things or certain goods that we consume more of because our income is low. Try to think things that are inferior. A good example, informal settlements are consumed when income levels are low. So the higher your income goes, the less you want to consume informal settlements. The more you want to consume apartments, the more you want to consume houses. So basically, the more you want to consume hotels, the more you want to consume Airbnbs, the more you want to consume, bed and breakfasts. So at the end of the day, it then tells us that those are the things that you consume more of. They are normal goods. Then those that you consume less of when income goes up are simply inferior goods. So the symbol Y is often used in economics to represent income. So due to the fact that income elasticity of demand reports the responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in income, all other things unchanged, ceteris paribus, including the price of the good. This is a very important phrase that I threw there, not we, because I did it alone, right? including the price of the good. So we keep the price of the good constant. And now the only thing that changes is your income. So if we don't keep it constant, then it might lie to us as whether a good is normal or inferior. For instance, let's say your income goes up and price of the good goes up as well. Then you'll probably consume less of it because, yeah, even though your income went up, now the good is more expensive, so you cannot afford it now. So it will then seem like the good is inferior. But no. The good is actually normal. You were going to consume more of it if the price did not change. So that's why the phrase ceteris paribus is important. So we keep the price constant and say, if you couldn't afford this and now your income goes up, what would happen? Now you would consume it. See? But then we must keep the price of the good constant, ceteris paribus. Now, a good whose demand rises as income rises is called a normal good. A good whose demand drops as income. So here, it'll, according to my example, apartments would be normal goods and informal settlement will be an inferior good. Another example, some people drink black label because they cannot afford Hennessy. So black label will be inferior, and if income goes up, they start to drink Hennessy. So why are they drinking black label? They cannot afford what they actually want. So when they begin to make money, when they begin to have higher income, they stop drinking black label, they start drinking Hennessy. To those who don't drink, maybe let me use another example. Maybe the reason why whenever you go to the supermarket, you buy chicken necks, you buy chicken livers, you buy chicken legs, chicken feet, you buy, you buy intestines and go eat is because maybe of your income. But one day you know that you want to walk into a supermarket and buy drumsticks and buy wings. So it makes then the chicken intestines inferior, and it makes the drumsticks normal. Okay. So because when our income goes up, we'll start buying drumsticks and wings. When our income goes up, we buy less chicken feet and so on. But chicken feet is a bit different because people love chicken feet, and sometimes they don't purchase it because of income. Sometimes they purchase chicken feet because they just love to snack on it. Okay, so an increase in income causes a decrease in demand for inferior goods and vice versa. So an increase in income causes an increase in demand for normal goods and vice versa also. All right, the next concept, so we are done with income elasticity of demand. The difference is that one is price elasticity of demand. That's why we divide by price here. And also here we have to be specific demand of the product because we are talking about a specific product. So demand for black label, demand for Hennessy, and here your income. Okay, so then we call it here income elasticity of demand, because if we change this and say percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, then it's now price elasticity of demand. Okay, if we change this demand and put supply and put price here, then it's now price elasticity of supply. So take note of the small differences. All right. Then we're introducing the last concept, which is cross elasticity. So with cross elasticity, we are not interested in knowing whether a good is normal, inferior, or whatever. We are mostly interested in knowing the relationship between goods. So goods relate this way. Number one, they can be complementary. Number two, they can be substitutes. Number three, they can be totally unrelated. For instance, what do you think would happen to the price of chicken if the price not the price of chicken, to demand for chicken, if the price of shoelaces go up? Well, shoelaces and chicken have no relationship whatsoever, so nothing would happen. So then it tells us that the goods are unrelated. And another one, what do you think would happen to demand for coffee if the price of sugar goes up? Well, demand for coffee will drop because sugar is now expensive. So people drink less coffee because sugar is expensive. So it means then that these goods are complements. Number three, what do you think would happen to demand for coffee if price of tea goes up? Well, demand for coffee would go up, and it tells us that these goods are substitutes. Okay, let's go deeper. So the formula for calculating cross elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity demanded of good A divided by percentage change in price of good B. So if two goods are substitutes, an increase in the price of one will lead to an increase in demand for the other. The cross elasticity of demand is positive. Okay. If two goods are complements, an increase in the price of one will lead to a reduction in the demand for the other. Cross elasticity of demand is negative. If two goods are unrelated, a change in the price of one will not affect the demand for the other. The cross elasticity of demand is 0. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Three things that we are trying to see. So if goods are substitutes, an increase in the price of good A would increase demand for good B, and vice versa. If goods are complements, and an increase in the price for good A would decrease the demand for good B, and vice versa. Lastly, with income elasticity of demand and cross elasticity of demand, we are primarily concerned with whether the measured value of these elasticities is positive or negative. In the case of income elasticity of demand, this tells us whether a good is normal or inferior. In the case of price elasticity of demand, this tells us whether the goods are substitutes, complements, or unrelated. Well, this has brought us to the end of the topic of utility in summary, but we have many other activities that we could cover, and there they are. I could just scroll like this, and where we can also give you some values and ask you to calculate this and that, this and that, this and that. So, well, there's a lot, and but the topic has already been summarized. These activities can be, accessed in my workbook, and the answers here they are. So, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.